everyone, and welcome to Vodori's Benchmarks Symposium, a video series about our 2023 State of Promotional Review Benchmarks Report. I'm Annalise, Senior Manager of Marketing and Communications at Vodori, and I'm joined today by Jessy Horrell, VP of Customer Success. Jessy, thanks so much for joining. Could you just tell the audience who you are and a little bit about your role at Vodori?
Yeah. So I've been in customer success at Vodori since the introduction of our product, Pepperflow. And from day one, we've always felt that metrics and data are an integral part of optimizing the promotional review process. So in my role, I've been consulting with customers on process improvements and metrics optimization using data.
Awesome. And I think that's one of the reasons, right, we embark on this benchmarks report every year is that we really believe in the value of data, in the value of benchmarking, and sort of providing the industry with a sense of what does this process look like across various market segments. And actually, that is the topic of today's video. So we are going to be doing a deep dive into the process benchmarks by market segment. So when I say market segment, it's really company size a little bit, right? So we're talking about emerging, small to mid-sized, and enterprise companies, definitions of those when it comes to our report. So emerging companies are going to be 0 to 100 employees, small to mid-size, 100 to 500 employees, and enterprise is 500 and above. So just to give you a sense of sort of what we're talking about when we mention those specific terms, let's go ahead and just take a look at our 2023 benchmark data and sort of what we're seeing. So when it comes to the emerging market segment, average of 9 jobs per month, and an average job duration of 16.5 days. Now, I'll pause there. Jessy, can you quickly just define job duration just for those that maybe aren't as familiar with that term?
Yeah, so we define job duration as the number of calendar days from the day the job started to the day that the job was completed throughout the review cycles that was needed and any feedback that needed to be provided to the piece.
Thank you. Yep. So again, for emerging, we're seeing 9 jobs per month with an average job duration of 16.5 days. For that small to mid-size segment, we're seeing 16 jobs per month with an average job duration of 19.8 days. And then for enterprise, 330 jobs per month with an average job duration of 13.7 days. Now, Jessy, can't sort of help but notice seeing sort of these metrics here on the screen that there is sort of this natural bell curve that's happening, particularly in relation to the average job duration. Talk to me about that. Like, why are some reasons that we see sort of this natural bell curve happening?
Yeah, we do see this year over year. And, typically, I think that it's unsurprising that you see enterprise having the fastest speed to market. I'll even comment on the fact that they do produce the most, despite producing the most content. And, we often see this because within the enterprise segment, you've got some major brands with big budgets producing lots of content. Also organizations that are, have resources that are dedicated to promotional review. So they basically have more to do with. They can do more with what they're given. And then on the enterprise side, on the emerging side, kind of on the low end of that, you've got companies that are, really often small, sometimes pre-commercial, really focused on bringing a product to market, maybe not as much of a need for so much content. So both lower volumes, people wearing lots of different hats, folks not dedicated to MLR review, so a little bit longer job duration times. But again, not still pretty focused on typically one brand or one product. So slightly outperforming the small to mid-size, which is sort of that in between where you're sort of pressured to do more with less. You have more products. You have teams that are, partially dedicated, partially not. So it just ends up being, something that we see consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you and I specifically have talked about some differences between the benchmark data from this year and last year. Now, year over year comparisons are tough, right? There are several factors that go into what makes a year, right? Internal, external factors, like a lot of things we can't control for. But I know we did see some noticeable year over year differences. And so just wanted to pick your brain as to what are some of those differences and what are some hypotheses around those differences.
Yeah. In this year's report, we saw that all the market segments experienced a slight reduction in speed compared to last year's metrics. However, enterprise changed the least, which is an indicator that they're less impacted by the market conditions of 2023 that our customers told us by way of our survey that impacted their performance this year. Specifically more resource limitations, doing more with less, competing and shifting priorities. So I think that you're going to see enterprise being a little more insulated from some of those factors. And then, again, like you mentioned, it is difficult to explain away why, a specific market segment would have seen a large jump or a small jump year over year. But I think that just knowing that the smaller the company, the more impacted they're going to be by tough market conditions kind of helps to explain those shifts.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did hear when you go and download this year's 2023 benchmarks report, there is a whole slew of customer survey data that we're used to sort of contextualize these metrics. So excited for folks to sort of dig into the metrics and alongside some of that customer survey data. So thanks for bringing that up. Okay, we've got this data. You're a small to mid-sized company. You're seeing sort of these process benchmarks. Regardless of the market segment you fit within, I think, one of the common things we talk about and sort of consult our customers around is now what? How do I use these benchmarks within my day-to-day? How do I use it to drive my decisions? So could you unpack that a little bit for us and just talk about some of the key ways that you sort of talk to our customers about marrying up data with the promotional review process?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's an important call out that within our benchmarks report, we do actually provide cohort reporting for various different slices. So by segment, by industry. And so I would encourage customers and folks to go find the slice of data that they feel is most relevant to them. Yeah. But I think if you're finding yourself straying far from those benchmarks that you see and where you see yourself fitting in, there are a lot of actionable things you can do. Taking a look at that data. I think number one, prioritizing training opportunities to improve the quality of the content going into the process is always something that is important. I think evaluating resource allocation and whether, maybe it's time to build a case to hire or to align a dedicated reviewer to the process. And then finally, we often consult with our customers and tailor their workflows to address specific bottlenecks that are impacting their metrics. For example, introducing a conditional logic to remove a certain required reviewer based on content type, or moving from a parallel to sequential review or vice versa, just depending on the circumstances. So I think there's a lot you can do from it. I think it does require some effort to go and, number one, understand these benchmarks and how you fare against them. But then second step is to dig a little bit deeper and try to find those explanations for why you might be straying from the benchmark.
Mm-hmm. Super helpful, though. I think even just those examples can help people start to, get the wheels turning around how to use this, these process benchmarks and sort of how to even start these conversations at the organization, right? I think even just coming to the table with some data to say, hey, this is what we're seeing. What do we need to talk about? I think is just helpful in maybe kickstarting that initiative at your organization. Well, Jessy, thanks so much for joining. Always really interested to get your insights and perspective on this topic. Everyone, please go download the 2023 State of Promotional Review Benchmarks Report. You can download it at vodori.com/2023 benchmarks. And please make sure to be following us on LinkedIn. We're doing a whole series of videos dedicated to the data in the report this year. So excited for everyone to dig in and join in on the conversation.